Welcome back, everyone. Jake here. Currently, we're on day 9 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and in this video, I want to talk about the potential impact on the crypto markets. But before we talk about crypto, let me just give an update on what's going on with this war. And as I stated in my previous video, Russia can no longer win this war. They wanted to gain complete control of Ukraine, but this honestly is now impossible. Their military objectives, part of this sneak attack, sneak invasion, whatever you want to call it, they needed the government in Kyiv to flee. They needed them to go into exile. They needed to gain control of the major cities, Kyiv, Kharkiv, Mariupol, and Odessa, and they needed the Ukrainian military to stand down, to surrender and not resist. Currently, we're on day 9. Russia's never going to get control of this country. All that Russia can do is kill more people and destroy more buildings before inevitably withdrawing. So the question now is, how many more people does Russia want to kill? How many more buildings do they want to destroy? Here is a conventional artillery attack in the town of Chernihiv near the Belarus border. There's no Ukrainian military up here. This was not a military target. Russia, now that they're getting frustrated, they're going to resort to just bombing civilians, bombing civilian centers, trying to kill as many people as possible. For what purpose, I'm not sure. But let's watch this clip. There are the projectiles entering a residential neighborhood. Those are civilians walking in a park.
Пиздец. И это они, блядь, не бомбят дома жилые?
So this is Russia now just committing war crimes. Once again, they're frustrated that their military is performing so terribly. They're frustrated that the Ukrainians are not surrendering in mass. So potentially before all this ends, they're just going to unload their artillery on the major cities and try and kill as many people as they can before they leave. And before we talk more about this conflict going forward on my channel and I make additional videos, YouTube no longer shows the thumbs up, thumbs down ratio, but I want to share this with you guys because it's important. So the last 4 videos that I've made on my channel talking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, 94% thumbs up ratio, 94%, 97%, 97%. So in the comments section, there's going to be Russian bots auto-commenting and Russian trolls for who, whatever reason, love Vladimir Putin and are cheering on his invasion of Ukraine. But it's a very small minority of people. The overwhelming majority of the people on this planet stand with the Ukrainian people in opposition to Vladimir Putin's dream of conquest of rebuilding the Soviet Russian Empire. And it's impossible. He's never going to do it with his fighting forces. By all accounts that are well documented with video, guys, the Russian Air Force is performing terribly. The Russian Navy, which was supposed to have an amphibious assault of Odessa, hasn't even been able to take off yet. And the Russian army with their ground forces, the stories and videos of these Russian soldiers surrendering. So here is a video of some Russian soldiers on an abandoned farm who were left by their leadership 3 days ago without any kind of food or supplies, and they were told to wait here until they could until someone came and picked them up.
Пацаны, чисто на сухое. Нас просто пустили на пушечное мясо, вот. Вот все ребята тут. Еле кто вырвался, кто остался жив, вот мы тут стоим. И нам говорят, чтобы мы подписывали какие-то бумаги, чтобы они прикрыли сами себя.
Что, задним числом уволить?
Да, они хотят нас уволить задним числом, как тех, которые не вернулись, вот, не приехали сюда, которые остались в полку. А мы находимся вот тут вот. Вот. Они нас привезли как будто на учение. Вот. И все. Да.
So once again, this is just dozens of Russian soldiers completely confused. They're hungry, they're cold, they're tired. Probably many of them have health concerns now, and no one's coming for them. No one in the Russian military is caring for these guys. How the heck are you supposed to lay siege to a city when this is your fighting force? Additionally, here's a video of a Russian soldier who surrendered himself to Ukrainian forces, and he was hungry, and they gave him some kind of pastry and some warm tea. I choke up watching this video, guys. So this woman with purple hair is using her iPhone to allow him to FaceTime and call his mother to let his mother know that he's okay.
Он ни за что попал. Он пришел, он даже не знал, зачем он шел. Сюда, к нам. Они идут по старых картам, и они блукают.
Наташ, все хорошо, Наташ, слышите? Все, говори, мама, говори.
So he seems really focused on this warm tea because these Russian soldiers are freezing. They've been eating expired MREs for weeks potentially, if they have food at all. They're tired, they're cold. And everyone in the media has been focusing on this 40-mile-long convoy that's been stuck for days. And the reason is mechanical issues. They're running out of fuel, and when one truck breaks down in this column for any reason, all the trucks behind it have to stop. And the theory forming why this column isn't moving, it hasn't moved for the last 2 days, is because these trucks have been using cheap Chinese military component, basically Chinese knockoff Michelin tires. And these trucks are breaking down. They're trying to just get basically down the road, guys. So if in Belarus, this is where they were staging in Gomel, this convoy is trying to get to Kyiv to lay siege, and this is only, I don't know, like 120 miles. And Russia's ground forces couldn't even drive 120 miles without all of their trucks breaking down. Additionally, the only heat source these soldiers have is if their trucks keep running. So when a truck runs out of fuel, you now have soldiers sleeping and sitting in the cold. Once again, they're running out of food. I think there's going to be more mass surrendering by Russian forces as they have no will to fight. Additionally, this is a funny headline. Ukrainian authorities say citizens don't need to declare captured Russian tanks and military equipment for tax purposes. This is good to know. So Ukrainian authorities said captured Russian tanks won't be counted as a part of citizens' income. They said that seized tanks and military equipment need not be declared for purpose of taxes. And they said such items would be considered a manifestation of the unity and cohesion of Ukrainians. So it's good that, the Ukrainian government, in the face of all of this suffering and tragedy, on Twitter can still, basically zing Russia. Additionally, President Biden gave his State of the Union address, and one of the lines that got the biggest applause was that the administration is launching a KleptoCapture task force to go after the Russian oligarchs. Now, maybe loosely you know who the Russian oligarchs are, but it's about 15 or 16 men. And what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed 30 years ago is everything under communism was owned by the state. And since Russia was trying to transition to free market capitalism, they had to privatize all of the state industries. So what ended up happening was, these are all friends of Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin was the first president who took over in 1992, and he basically just gave away all of the country's most valuable resources and valuable industries to his friends. And these guys all became billionaires in the 1990s, and they're now the ruling class of Russia. So these are not the best and brightest people who are self-made billionaires, perhaps like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk. You can make an argument that the levels of wealth that American billionaires have achieved, it was self-made through their own business acumen. But these guys are just kleptocrats. They're stooges of the first Russian administration, and they were handed out all the wealth. So I'll just go through a couple of these oligarchs with you so you can get to know them. Roman Abramovich, he's actually in the news right now because he's choosing to sell the Chelsea Soccer Club, the football club, part of the English Premier League. But, he made his billions through the controversial loans for share privatization program. Once again, all of the former Soviet Union's assets were being privatized, and he scooped everything up for pennies on the dollar. Alex Abramov, he's the steel and iron guy who got all the steel and iron in Russia. This is Oleg Deripaska. He's the aluminum guy amongst the oligarchs. This is Mikhail Prokhorov. He's the nickel, palladium, and gold guy. Here is Alisher Usmanov. He's the guy that has all the copper. It really is as simple and stupid as this, that Russia is this vast empire of natural resources, and when they privatized and went to free market capitalism, they just handed over all of these resource industries to specific people rather than having them benefit the Russian people. This picture, this guy doesn't have a picture on Wikipedia, so I Googled him, and he literally looks like the villain in the Black Widow movie. So it's up to you to ask yourself if he's a good guy or not. So this brings us to what I want to talk about, and that would be crypto. Full disclosure, guys, I do not own any cryptocurrency. I've never bought and sold or traded. In the short term, you definitely can make a lot of money if you think you can time it perfectly and, buy down here, sell down here, buy down here, wait for it to go up again. But is Bitcoin or crypto a good long-term investment? And I'm still skeptical. I want to see how crypto performs during a true recession before I personally start investing in it. When we look at the 1-year performance of Bitcoin, it's down 16%. The argument that crypto bulls make is that during times of high inflation, this will protect your money. During periods of war and uncertainty, this will protect your money. But that's not really what Bitcoin is doing. Regardless of the arguments, if you're for or against cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is now getting attention because of all of these sanctions. Bitcoin sanctions could be next, but most Russians won't care. Washington takes aim at Russia's access to digital cash as the US and its allies levy heavy punitive measures against Moscow. So in order to get Putin to stop this war and pull out of Ukraine, we're applying economic pressure on Russia. Central banks have cut them off. The SWIFT network has cut them off. But potentially, isn't cryptocurrency a workaround for the Russian people, the Russian economy, and the Russian oligarchs? If all of their assets are being seized and the governments of the world are going after them, then why wouldn't they just move all of their money to Bitcoin or various cryptocurrencies? This is what has North America and the EU concerned. EU looks at preventing use of crypto to avoid Russian sanctions. So potentially, what could be the fallout? Let's say that President Vladimir Putin and the Russian oligarchs, to withstand the West and keep their war of expansion going, what if they go all in on Bitcoin? What if they go all in on cryptocurrency as an alternative to the global banking financial system? And this is where I think corporate America might actually turn on crypto. The last 2 years, corporate America has been on the fence. Is this the future? Are these solid investments? But right now, it's popular. Every company in the world is jumping on the bandwagon to economically sanction or punish Russia. A fun example is Harley Davidson is suspending business in Russia. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is one of my hometown industries. But how many Harley Davidson motorcycles were they actually selling in Russia? So every company in the world is putting out press releases because this is popular. Once again, looking at this thumbs up to thumbs down ratio, people standing with Vladimir Putin and people standing with Russia's war of aggression is not helping in public perception. So any company can score easy points and goodwill with their customers. Now here's where it gets complicated. Think about how many publicly traded companies are investing in Bitcoin or investing in cryptocurrency. And once again, if the oligarchs and Vladimir Putin go all in on cryptocurrency, it now looks like a conflict of interest for publicly traded companies on their balance sheets to be holding cryptocurrency. And companies have demonstrated that they're willing to lose money to punish Russia over this war. Shell has pulled out of all of their energy investments with Russia because of this war. BP is going to divest their Russian oil investments. So here's where it gets complicated, because here's an article from Decrypt. Coinbase is latest exchange to deny Ukraine request to block Russian crypto users. So right now, there's a public awareness campaign that Russia and the Russian oligarchs are trying to conceal their wealth with crypto. So there's being pressure put on companies like Coinbase to block this. If somebody has an IP or a user address potentially in Russia, they want to deny them access to buy and sell. And to Coinbase's credit, I guess, they're resisting. This is counter to the purpose and the ethos of crypto. It's supposed to be, decentralized currency, free for the mass to do whatever they want with it. But Coinbase is a publicly traded company. Their obligation is to the shareholders, people who own stock in the company now. The CEO of Coinbase has to operate in the best interest of their shareholders. And if it's a public relations nightmare to be basically enabling the Russian oligarchs and Vladimir Putin to be skirting all of these sanctions, I think the pressure is eventually going to get to these exchanges that they have to shut out the Russian people or try and freeze these accounts, slow it down, make it more difficult. Obviously, crypto is so elusive, you can always get around whatever. But simply talking about regulating this, restricting this, banning this, that's enough to cause the entire crypto market to crash as well. And I hate to be the guy to bring up Hitler, but let's pretend that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin existed in the year 1941. And at the height of World War II, the Allies were imposing economic sanctions or trade embargoes. And to get around this, Adolf Hitler and the Nazis decided to go all in on crypto. What would the Allies do in that situation? Fast forward to today, and if Vladimir Putin is an authoritarian fascist with his billionaire oligarchs basically enabling him, and this group goes all in on crypto and Bitcoin to get around economic sanctions, isn't it your patriotic duty, your civic duty to resist by selling your crypto, de-investing, avoiding it altogether? Because if Putin is committing war crimes and cryptocurrency becomes his way of getting around economic sanctions, I just think this is a public relations nightmare, and anybody who's heavily invested might want to weigh those considerations, because in the short term, there could be a lot of restrictions coming on crypto. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up so the algorithm knows it's good. If you have any comments or questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, take care.